Around the world, and welcome to the Transnation Formula One F4 category here at the United States of America in Houston, Texas, at the Circuit of the Americas. I'm Brett Keenan, presently running solo commentary for today's broadcast. A lot's been going on over the week, so I do apologise if I'm a little unmotivated or lacking a little bit in the emotion trait right now. New Zealand has been hit with a national tragedy, something that we never thought was possible. Um, 3 hours from where I live, there was a mass shooting in a place called Christchurch, and the death count sits at 49, could possibly continue to rise as injuries take their toll. What's happened is basically a group of extremists, Australian extremists, have decided to take it upon themselves to be fucking idiots and purge the Muslim community within Christchurch, which has probably caused a massive retaliation from Islam. We can almost guarantee it. Luckily, no one in my family, nor anyone in my friend's family or my partner's family were caught in the incident either. So, I basically am going to be asking the viewers and subscribers to pay their respects. You don't have to if you don't want to, but just share your support with a hashtag Stay Strong Christchurch. Well, Stay Strong CHCH in the comments below, just to show your support. We'll also be doing a minute silence for that, as well as a minute silence at some point also to mark the death of Formula One's FIA director Charlie Whiting, who sadly passed away just days before the Australian Grand Prix. So there's going to be a lot going on. So I think for now we'll have a minute of silence before we get underway. I'll just let the people know that we're about to start. So bear with me. Ready up, people, ready up. We're also going to be having a minute silence for the people of Christchurch, so if you're watching the broadcast, keep that in mind. Okay, so, sorry about that. So, we're about to... Oh, shit, good point. I haven't done all the settings, sorry. Yep, sorry about that. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, anyway, we'll carry on. So from here, we'll now have a minute silence for those whose lives were lost in Christchurch. So probably a little over a minute silence for those who lost their lives in Christchurch, and for the families who have lost family members, friends, colleagues, and all that kind of stuff. It's one of New Zealand's darkest histories, just to let you aware of that. We, unlike America that don't really have a gun law, New Zealand has had one of the strictest gun laws in the world, so for something like this to happen it disgusts me. It honestly disgusts the living daylights out of me. Sorry, just had to explain something because McLaren driver Alex Reese in position 10 has a qualifying ban to serve, so he will just have to let him know how to work that. So, riding here with Aiden Rafai, who's joined the category full time as opposed to I think Singapore was when he joined, and it's going to be an interesting telling point of who's going to be up the front today, because the Circuit of the Americas is a very that it kind of begs for speed, but it also begs for aerodynamics, so it's a very cross twist between the two as to how you approach the track in anger without being too overly aggressive at the same time and putting it in the fence. So it's anyway, sorry, I was just having a read of the comments of people showing their support and whatnot, and it's great to see that kind of stuff happening. You know, the support from all countries, and you know, it's no different when something like this happens in the States, in the UK. You know, the support that we show, the united we stand. It's a great concept to see. So we're just riding with Aiden Rafai at the moment as he's now tackling the circuit in anger. The Circuit of the Americas is not a really well publicised circuit to a lot of people. It's hard to really get a gauge on how to approach a lap without being over the top. It's a corner cutting paradise for drivers that don't like track limits. So if you're one of those kind of people, you're usually set for life. So it really comes down to how you want to attack the circuit in that retrospect. So I've gotten a bit ahead of I haven't got ahead of myself, but I've been neglectful into introducing two new drivers to the category. We've got Marshall Clampett in one of the Toro Rossos, who's making his debut to the F4 category, and Bradley Betts, who's elected to move from F1 to F4 to get himself reacquainted with the system. He goes to the top with a 32.8 to start things off. Aiden didn't look like he set a lap on that lap, so he'll be doing that. So here comes Daniel Woodwell, who's on just starting a flying lap. We're just waiting for another driver to actually set a lap right now so that we can gauge Bradley's time to the rest of the field. So 32.8, which I think was done on the Supers, which it was not actually, it was set on the Ultras. Not too bad, but still probably a bit of work to do as Alex DeMau goes to P2. Albert Ramirez up to P2 now with a 33.1 on the Super Soft tyre. So variant strategies playing out as you would expect from the community, well, from the F4 category. Different variants, different driving abilities, kind of means some drivers can go for the fastest setup, as Joseph Roberts goes to P3 with a 33.5, which is good for the Red Bull outfit. Of course, Red Bull having a very good weekend in sorry about that. Anyway, we have looks like Bradley's crashed in during the time I was just putting someone out of commission in the thing. So Daniel Budwell's gone up to P4 with a 34.5. Diogo Cruz has gone to P6 with a 35.7. Marshall Clampett's up to P7 with a 37.6. Kind of getting in the way of one of the drivers. I don't know which that one was. Very hard to say at that point in time. It was it might have been Alex de Mao on a lap, but I think Alex de Mao might have... Oh no, Alex would have been just on a flyer. We've just got an incident in Sector 2, but that would be someone slowing down. There's not a lot of speed going on here at the moment. There's quite a bit of congestion actually happening at the moment. So, oh yeah, okay, so apparently Brad's crashed in the pits, and there's a presumed chance of rain. In fact, as you can see, the track has kind of gotten a lot more gloomier since the start of the session, so the odds of rain must be thereabouts. And you know, it's a concept that with rain, it's always it always throws a spanner in the works, especially in qualifying, as we watch Luke Ringham absolutely objectify the nature of the street, or the nature of the circuit, in order to, I guess, return to the... No, he's actually on a... Initially he was on a flyer, so I'm guessing he's obviously trying to get a lap in on the soft so that when the rain hits he doesn't have to... Oh, actually, it might be already a bit too late. The rain is starting to fall. Just let's ride a ball with Luke, and yeah, so the rain is actually falling now on the circuit. So it'll be interesting to see who decides they're going to stay in and do some intermediate laps on the off chance it might rain in the race, or who's going to just abort from a lap and be done with it. Because the way it looks like right now, it just looks like Bradley's going to take pole position quite convincingly at the moment, because of the fact he ran the ultra soft lap before anyone else could, and really the only other ultra soft runner in the top 10, since there is only 11 cars, one of serving a qualifying ban, is Alex de Mao in P6, but he's not going to be able to improve on that lap time. In fact, it's probably suffice to say do anything more from the session. with the rain coming through, so just checking out some information at the moment, but nothing looks like it's too out of prompt, but looks all good from the front there, so everything seems to be moving in a fluid, smooth motion. But yeah, it doesn't look like anyone's really too intent to keep pushing too much. A few drivers are actually having another crack. Luke Ringham decides he's going to call it quits for the session and carry on. Marshall Clampett, on the other hand, is deciding he thinks he can improve on his 37. And the only other driver actually did not set a time other than Alex Preece, who's on the qualifying ban, is Aiden Rifai. So Aiden will be looking to try and get something on the board in these wet conditions. I mean, it doesn't look like it's wetting up too drastically, so it's not... I mean, riding on board with Aiden at the moment, the rain has only just looked like it's kind of started to kind of take its effect in the way that it's... Ooh, he's kind of dropped the gears a bit too quickly, and it's actually caused the car to be a bit unsettled heading into this set of corners. I'm a bit lost as to where we are corner number wise, but we are heading into the never-ending left right-hander, which is a... It can be flat if you can get the car position right and the setup kind of equates to it. So heading into the last two corners of the circuit, he's definitely giving it as much chance as he can to give it a good red hot go. It still could be a reasonable lap actually here. He goes across the line, does a 37.1, which puts him ahead of Marshall, which is not too bad given the state of the weather. So yeah, a lot of people are talking about the weather and how it was supposed to be dry for the first 10 minutes and then wet up, but apparently it looks like it's kind of done the reverse. So a lot of drivers not too optimistic about the weather at the moment, and it's supposed to be a dry race from what I've heard from Luke Ringham. So thank you, Luke, for that information. Got a few sector incidences. We'll check them out in just a second. I'm just sorting myself with something here, but there's not very much activity going on at the circuit at the moment, so it's very hard to pin down what's transpiring, because I know a lot of drivers are too willing to want to go out and set a blistering lap. So we'll see what Luke Ringham has in store. He is on the ultra soft tyre, but it doesn't look like the lap's going to be very quick. I'm just going to quickly check something on my thing. I will not be a second, but a second. I'm just... No, it looks like I'm probably going to run solo for the remainder of this race. Looks like my partner in crime, Guy Tasker, has not... was vacated the premises, but... Oh, Alex Amell in the fence, coming into... Where is that? I took my eyes away for just a second. Ah, yeah, it's in the the last part of the complex, heading into the second sector. So the current order right now: Bradley Betts, Albert Ramirez, Joseph Roberts, Daniel Bidwell, Luke Ringham, Alex DeMel, Matt Kohler, Diogo Cruz, Aidan Rifai, Marshall Clampett, and Alex Reese, who is not serving a qualifying lap today. So that's Alex's qualifying ban served, so he will be good to go for the remainder of the season. So 3 races left in the Trans Nation Formula 1 World Championship Season 2, or Season 2018 we like to call it. It is our effective 3rd season, what with our first 10 race beta test season and then last season as well. So 3 seasons into the game and 4 categories. It's not too bad, to say the least. The attendance numbers have been a little disappointing, to say the least, but you know, the drivers that do make their appearances do their absolute best to give you viewers the show of a lifetime, and we commentators try to provide you with the best information as humanly possible. Unfortunately, when you kind of when you're in the solo sort of field, you don't get that kind of opportunity, because you don't have someone that's going to follow up on what you say or find an incident that's happened that you're not watching. So it's very hard to solo commentate, for the most reason that you have to speak all the time and that you have to be focused on every single event that's happening at this point of time. So we've got 40 seconds left on the clock, which now everyone's in the pit, so I think it's pretty fair to say that nobody's really gonna bother coming out for another lap. There's no point, because I mean, the game's not gonna let you. So the 20 seconds will just count down, and we'll just pretty much conclude qualifying with we'll just see how this plays out. So the 10 seconds will count down and the session will be closed, with Bradley Betts pretty much taking over from where his cousin Owen left off last weekend with a straight pole position. So and that's it. So that's qualifying done for the F4 United States Grand Prix. And Bradley Betts will take Toro Rosso's second straight pole position of the F4 category. So looking good for Toro Rosso drivers out there. Although of course Owen wasn't able to convert his win in Japan from pole position. Can Brad rectify that situation? It's quite a big British contemporary here in the F4, with a few different regions as well: Portugal, Canada, Australia. Although I think Luke is actually British himself, he's just running the Australian flag. If you're hearing me on this one, Luke, please let me know in either Discord or the thing to remedy that situation. But yeah, quite a few British people in the F4, which then is followed up by a handful of other drivers. So sunny conditions looks to be the case, as said by Luke in the and everything else. We're just waiting to see who is going to take the honours for today's race. But first and foremost, once the formation lap gets underway, we're going to also be holding a minute silence. So for those viewing as well as the hashtag "This is not our new NZ," we'll also get a hashtag RIP Charlie Whiting in the comment section, so to show the support of FIA director who tragically passed away before the start of the Australian Grand Prix. So without further ado, while the cars go around the formation lap, we'll hold a minute's silence for Charlie Whiting. So again, probably over a minute. Over a minute for the passing of Charlie Whiting. The lights are about to build up. I don't think we're going to get the normal usual start that we usually do. The revs will build up. It must be a New Zealand thing because it worked pretty quickly for Guy in F2. The lights are out and away we go for F2. F4 Grand Prix. A good start by Bradley Betts, but as usual with turn 1, there's quite a bit of banging and barging going around. Looks like a few cars in the back have kind of come together, but all in all, looks like it's been a reasonably clean start by the field as Bradley Betts will lead them through through the complex, followed by Albert Ramirez Garcia. Joseph Robertson P3 has done a well job. Aiden Rifai has done a brilliant job to come up all the way from the back of the field to be up into 4th place. A lot of drivers opting to use different strategies as Koya down the inside of Ringham at the hairpin. But yeah, it looks like Ramirez is actually giving Betts a bit of a hard time as well. Well, there was for a moment there, and then looks like it all kind of fell out of proportion. But yeah, looks like the top 3 have kind of gotten their own little gap going here, with Aiden kind of creating a train to the rest of the field. Diogo has made a pretty reasonable start as well. He's dropped a fair bit back, but he's managed to claw some ground on the field. He's just made a move on Alex DeMao as Bradley now completes the first lap with the fastest lap of the race as expected. Ramirez in second, then it's Roberts, Rifai, Ringham, Koya, Budwell, Reese, Clampett, Cruz and DeMao, who makes up the top 11. So good start by Bradley, who just got off the line absolutely on point and had a bit of a moment when he had a Red Bull and a Mercedes kind of pushing him into perspective, but it just kind of balanced out in the end. And it looks like all things are, and it's all putting into perspective, so we're just waiting to see the field come through the back straight. The two McLarens, 2 of the most obvious coloured cars on the field, into perspective as Alex Reese kind of dropped out of the this thing there and tried to make a move, but didn't look like it paid off. So we're just waiting to see. Rifai made a bit of a mistake, which has actually set Ingham up for a move. So Ringham, Ringham's the only driver at the moment on the soft tyre, and here comes Ringham down the inside. And in fact, actually something's happened here, because Roberts has now moved to the lead of the race. He was P3 at first, but now he's... Oh, we've got a problem here. So Rifai has lost some ground. Has he lost some front wing as well? It looks like he may have. The car's not responding nicely. In fact, yeah, I can confirm there is wing damage there. So, interesting situation here to see Robert suddenly now in the lead of the race, given he was P3 on that lap. Is Ramirez going to have a go up the inside? No, he's not. Another moment here. It looks like it's Clampett that's had an off this time. So one Toro Rosso at the front, the other at the back. DRS is activated now, so a lot of drivers fanning out to avoid the DRS. Here comes Ramirez down the inside of Betts, but doesn't get the job done presently. So yeah, I wonder what happened there. It must have been it might have been an ambitious lunge from Roberts. Who knows? All I know is that the job's done easily in the race, and Diogo Cruz has now made up a spot, as opposed to the Clampett situation. Aiden's recovered quite well from his little off to stay where he is. Now, let's keep an eye on the front pack here, because if it was an ambitious dive from Roberts, we should probably expect to see one come back into play here. No, here comes Betts. Oh no, Betts is defending from Ramirez, who's on the attack. Refai is now into the pit, which we would expect to be, yep, a front wing change, as Roberts now gets a 3-second time penalty for excessive copy. So, yeah, sorry, I was just in conversations with Matthew Elliott, who said he could have joined me in commentary, but it looks like he hasn't been able to get invited into the lobby, so he's elected not to join me in the commentary box for that reason. So we'll press on irrespective. Aiden Refai with a 3-second time penalty for excessive warnings. No changes in position, other than Ringham has also cleared... oh no, that might have been on the account of Refai having an off. So Clampett's now made a move on Demau, which has put him up to position 9. So a good job there by the debutant to the F4 category. Bradley's starting to lose a little ground to Roberts, as he does actually the fastest lap of the race. To kind of chuck my words in my mouth there, as actually Koya now does the fastest lap of the race. So everyone's finding different pace in different areas, as Alex gets a 3-second time penalty for excessive corner cutting, which my guess would have been either track extending the hairpin or corner cutting the hairpin, which is I'd say it's possible, but it's not the most inconvenient way to do it. But actually these guys are starting to actually get chased a little by the back two of Koya and Ringham, so it's actually starting to become quite a big battle here, as Roberts is now starting to pull away from the rest of the field, despite the fact that I think, hang on, I just need to check Roberts' tyres, just because I can't quite see from here where he's on the super soft, so so he should have a bit more pace over Bradley, who is of course on the ultras. So the ultras will be starting to eat a little into his tyre life, and that's probably helping Ringham and Koya join this party. So a three-way battle for the leads. I mean, you can still throw Roberts in that situation because he's not that far ahead. So a 3-way battle from the lead is now turned into a 5-way battle to the lead, as Betts now actually decides that he's had enough of the ultra soft tyres and will join Refai in the pit. So it's going to be that's weird, what the hell just... a suggestion by Stanley Belrose is for everyone to show the support by everyone using the New Zealand flag in sorry about that, someone's eagerness getting the better of him. So Bradley's come out in P8 as opposed to his pit stop, and he's not too far away from the rest of the field. Now here's a move here. Ringham's getting a little impatient on the back of Garcia. Daylight savings, that's already happened. I thought that didn't happen until March 30th for Americans, or maybe that's different parts of the country. Anyway, sorry, it's just an American, Sterling West, has been talking about daylight savings, which made me kind of question what the hell is coming down. Anyway, so yeah, so Ringham's getting a little feisty on the back of Ramirez at the moment, so I wouldn't expect too long to see before a move is made. Ramirez goes defensive, almost very defensive to the point that this might actually hurt his exit into the next corner, which it does. It's going to set Ringham up to go around the outside, but of course Ramirez did have a better... Usually when you go defensive by that much, it really hurts your corner entry, which then sets the driver behind up for an over and under, but in this case it looks like it was able for Ramirez to actually get a bit of ground. He's actually made a bit of ground back up as opposed to that, and their battling is actually helping Roberts pull out to a 2.5 second gap over over the rest of the field. And Koya has also kind of dropped back from these people now as well, so the top, well, for positions 2 to 4 is kind of now separated between a minute, well, between a second apiece, with Roberts 2 seconds now in front of them. So it's kind of fanning out a little bit. We'll wait to see what kind of pit stops we see from the rest of the field, because I think the only other driver that was on the ultra soft tyre is Alex DeMar, and he hasn't come in yet, but he's also way back down in position 8, no, position 9. Marshall Clampett looks like he's come in as well, and he's put on another set of super ultra soft. So the two stop for Clampett, that's an interesting strategy there. Luke definitely looking to do the one stop. In fact, pretty much everyone in the top of the field, apart from Bradley Betts, I would imagine, are now running the one stop strategy. So one of the biggest arguing points about F1 2018 has been the fact that with the tyres as they are, you can one stop every race almost. So there's only save a couple of races in the calendar that you couldn't really do a one stop, and the two stop is the way to go. But 90% of the tracks on F1 2018 you can one stop, and I'm hoping that this is it's going to be remedied in F1 2019 with two stop strategies. And the main reason that it's a problem is that because of the one stop strategy, you don't see very much overtaking once the second stop has been made. Well, the first stop has been made, because it's usually an attempt to undercut or overcut the opponent behind or in front or whatever. So once that happens, you then kind of see a filter for the rest of the race. So I'm hoping that for F1 2019, the season in general, we see a lot more pit stops because of the front wings being more diverse, which means that there's not as much dirty air, so we can see more overtaking on track rather than in the pit. So if they do that, then the prospect of doing two stops rather than trying to push your tyres to their absolute limits to do a one stop should go away, and we should see some more tantalising racing as a result. We've had personal talks about banning one stops in the race, but of course you can only really police that so much. And it doesn't really work entirely, but we'll digress from that for a minute, as Ringham's now starting to really remount the pressure on Garcia, as they head through the pretty much what we come to know as Maggots and Beckett's. The Circuit of the Americas was designed to be built from the best corners around the world, as Clampett has actually now put it in the fence. I wouldn't be able to tell you where that is, because of course Codemasters still haven't fixed that function that lets us see crashes that happen on screen. So let's see if Ringham's got DRS on Garcia. He does, but it looks like he's still not far enough to be in a position to mount an attack, unless he goes for the old-fashioned dive bomb, which is not very well taken into the account. As Ringham starting to really apply the pressure on the back of Garcia, as those soft tyres will start to really taste the success of the degradation, and Garcia's super softs will be now starting to ask for mercy You can also kind of see it from Roberts too, because Roberts is starting now to drop back to these two. His gap isn't extending as much as it was. Garcia goes defensive again, which is probably not the best strategy when you're not actually in a position to be attacked. That could have probably set Ringham up for a good over and under had he not kind of been unable to at that present point of time. Change for position as Koya now in the pits for a set of soft tyres. I don't. Yeah, 18 laps probably would get him to the end as DeMayo's now come in for the first stop. So he's done pretty well to get these ultra softs to 9 laps. I don't know what the extent of the race tyres are, but if the softs can get to lap 8 or through 18 laps, then it probably is could be a guaranteed strategy of the ultras to the softs, but it looks like it could be the way to go. I don't do a lot of race strategies racing, so I can't really tell you the truth to whether we that strategy works. So we'll find that out at the end of the race, whether DeMayo and Koya can get to the end or they have to make another stop, as our race leader gets another 3-second time penalty for excessive corner cutting, and this battle rages on as actually Roberts now enters the pit. So actually the best way to define how this is going to happen is by Ringham's Ringham's strategy basically. So when Ringham comes in, whether it's an early stop or whether it's something else, we don't know. If it's lap 18, then we know that the softs can do 18 laps, which means that the strategy run by Koya and DeMayo is legit. Otherwise, Luke could also come in early to try and basically try and get out of this situation that he's in right now. Now someone's had an off. That's DeMayo's had a huge off just coming out of the third sector. How he didn't get a penalty for that one, I don't know, as Ringham's now actually going to size up a move here, and he should get this done. He has got the DRS. Ramirez actually looked to try and looked like he fanned off the throttle, let Ringham through, and then tried to get back on him through the slipstream. In fact, that didn't work, so he's actually admitted defeat and will let Ringham go. For Ramirez, this is probably the best thing to do, given in his championship stanzas he is leading the championship, and he should extend his championship lead quite significantly, again, just because of the fact that David Edwards and Ethan Lossing still have not made it to a race. Ethan, at least we know, is expected to be back for Mexico. We have no idea what the place on David Edwards is going to be, so very disappointing for our former championship points leader, who hasn't been here since past Singapore, before Singapore, so the race before Singapore. So the Italian Grand Prix was the last time we saw David Edwards in the race. So Ramirez in, Budwell in, where is, so Roberts has done a clear undercut on Ramirez. Actually, it's a big undercut, nearly 2 seconds undercut. But also at the same time, Roberts has got to deal with Alex Reese, who has not made his stop yet. And Alex is running a longer game as well, it looks like. So the super soft time must be coming at its wit's end by this time. So it shouldn't be too long before we see Roberts make a move on Reese. In fact, I think we don't even have to wait too much longer now. Actually, surprisingly, Alex was able to sustain himself long enough. Either that or Roberts didn't decide to make a move. Alex goes very defensive to the point he may as well not be on the track anymore, but actually gives up the position quite admittedly. But he actually goes back for the move. Oh, he recommitted up the inside. Probably shouldn't have. He is. I mean, he's not admitting defeat just yet, but the move was a little risky on both ends, and you could tell. So it hasn't lost him too much time to Ramirez, who's actually coming under attack quite significantly by Robert's teammate Koya. So Koya's done a good job on his undercut strategy to make a move, as Reese decides he's had enough on those supers and will come in for a stop. So the preferred strategy must lie in the fact that you need to get the... Oh, hang on, we got to move here because we just caught a wind of Ramirez's wing jerking a little to the left, which suggested as much. So Bradley's actually moved back up to P2 through the strategy, but we do expect to see him come back in about 3 or 4 laps time. So Brad will be kind of disappointed that he's elected to go for the faster strategy. So yeah, so the 2-stop is going to be the way to go for Bradley Betts. As Ramirez will probably have to try an attempt to get this position back off Koya. It was a very interesting move, as, yeah, look at that, the straight line speed of that Merc is absolutely dynamite as he soars past Koya to retake that position. But sometimes it kind of begs the question of, do you have the outright pace to keep this up? So it comes down to one thing in statement, as you can see, that Koya hasn't exactly dropped ground or anything. So the position that, basically the only reason that Ramirez was able to make that move done is that he's stuck with Koya for the most part and then utilised the DRS to get back through. But as you can see here, Koya is back in the position that he can do the exact same thing, and you're going to expect to see Ramirez go defensive here, because we've seen it happen with Ringham. So here we go, there's the defensive move there. Doesn't necessarily guarantee, I mean, it's a good idea to go defensive when humanly possible, but to do it to a point where you don't, I mean, turn 1's not really a corner that you want to be throwing your car up the inside at 300 odd kilometers an hour trying to get the car stopped. So you don't want to be doing that kind of stuff in fear that you're going to lock up and just run the other person on the outside wide. So it actually looks like Ramirez might actually have just gotten his bearings back, because he actually has managed to pull that gap back out of DRS range too. So although, no, actually Koya does have DRS, but he's too far back to really use it to full effect. So so it does look like Ramirez might have actually been just getting his bearings back, and that was why he just lost ground, because he was just trying to get those soft tyres up to temp. So back to the point I was trying to make before, I think it was actually before the move. I prefer if you're going to ask me questions in the hashtag Ask Brady section, I'd prefer it if you ask me questions about this race, not the actual Grand Prix, and much less ask me that kind of question. No, I don't think he's going to score points, Alexander Albon. I'm kind of hoping he doesn't score points for the whole season, so that Toro Rosso realise they made a mistake by replacing Brendan Hartley with him. Also, if you want to do another hashtag bring back Hartley for Toro Rosso, well, hashtag bring back Hartley. Sector 1 incident, so it looks like somebody's had an off. No one presently showing to have done it, but anyway, so back to the point I was making. It looks like this strategy is pretty clear cut, that if you can get your thank you, Stanley. But I think the clear-cut strategy obviously looks like, as demonstrated by Luke at the moment, is that you need to basically push your tyres to lap 10 on the supers, and then you should be guaranteed a one-stop strategy to the soft tyre. Now, we'll just wait and see. Yeah, there is. Actually, okay, so here we go. So this is different. So this changes the outlook on what I thought about things. So 15 laps on a set of soft tyres, which means he's going to take the set of supers to 12 laps, so it must be there or thereabouts. So Bradley will take the lead of the race, and Luke will make... Actually, Luke's made quite a bit of ground on the overcut. So Luke's done a really good job on this run too. He probably lost a lot of ground when, as he gets a 3-second time penalty for his efforts. It basically kind of dictates the point that. So it's 12 laps from here to the end on a set of tyres, and effectively with Brad out of sequence with his tyres being near the end of their stint, this will be your effective battle for the lead. So Luke Ringham's looking to make it 2 races in a row for race wins. In fact, he's actually almost to the point where those super softs have ignited and his pace is red hot. So Luke's really come onto form in the last part of this season. So whether or not he can utilise this into full effect to try and mount a championship charge against Ramirez will remain to be seen. Of course, we only do have 3 races left in the F4 Championship, a shortened championship that started off at the German Grand Prix, which was round 11 for the Transnation Formula 1 World Championship, and every championship preceding that to F3. F3 of course started at Bahrain, which was the 3rd round of the championship, so there was 2 races that they would have to do again if we could find the time, which we did in a back-to-back 25% race. We definitely weren't going to be doing that one for F4, as Ringham now going around the outside of Roberts, heading into the fast right left. We'll call it Maggots and Beckett's because that's pretty much what the circuit replicates anyway. So Ringham definitely looking very pacey near the end of the season. This must be the point of the season where the tracks for him are the strongest for him. So because he's definitely shown it. He showed the pace in Japan, where he took a very commanding race win, and of course we'll be very excited to see the F3 go to war as Ringham now goes around the outside of Roberts and gets the job done. Roberts did try to swing back in, but Ringham was very onto it and kind of pushed him out of the line, so that's position gain. We'll just have a look through the field again just to see where everyone is. Actually, sorry, during all that, Brad must have come in for another stop, so that's his second stop done. He's come back out in P5, so much to the same as his cousin Owen. It looks like the pole position has kind of fallen away from the conversion rate, and it doesn't, unless he can really use these supers to full effect in the last 11 laps of this race, as Luke does the fastest lap of the race to confine his pace. I don't think a podium will even beckon for Brad, so he'll need to consolidate this and use this to effect. Of course, we do have the penalty system in play as well that we got to look into as well. I don't think I've seen Brad on the penalty system yet, so he could still benefit from this if he does start to make use of these super soft tyres and put it into effect, as Roberts now puts himself into even further strife by getting another penalty. So what we're going to actually do, sorry to pause the game on you guys because I don't actually have another person that can do this for me. We're going to have a look at the penalty system at the moment and see who's got what. So we've got a 3-second time penalty there for Roberts, we've got one there for Aidan Refai, one there for Alex Reese, Budwell's got a 3-second, Alex DeMo has a 3-second, Diogo Cruz has a 3-second, another one there, so 6 seconds for Diogo. Oh no, Brad does have a 3-second time penalty. 9 seconds for Diogo, 12 seconds for Diogo, 6 seconds for Budwell, 15 seconds for Diogo, 6 seconds for Roberts, 6 seconds for no, sorry, that was a warning, so 6 seconds for Roberts, 6 seconds for Refai, 6 seconds for Reese, 18 seconds for Diogo, 6 seconds for Brad, actually, so there's another one there. 9 seconds for Rifai. That's a 6 second for Luke. 21 seconds for Diogo. 3 seconds for Ramirez, and that's actually another one there for things. So quite. So yeah, so that's pretty much set in motion. Diogo having a pretty abolishing race in the field of penalties. So 21 seconds. I haven't actually been paying much attention to the bottom of the screen, so haven't actually seen. Yeah, there's quite a lot of penalties there for Diogo. So as Aiden Rifai has crashed, we'll just see if Alex De Maio will be able to indicate to us where he has done it. But we've also got a virtual safety car right now, so for anyone that kind of came in, so for Alex De Maio, he could have jumped onto a set of ultra soft or super softs here, so still no indication as to where Aiden's crashed. There we main straight. That's got to be a, that's probably got to be a retire in the pits or a retire on track, because that's not a place that you usually end up crashing out on unless you got taken out by a driver, which I don't think there would have been. Any which way, we'll carry on racing. So Luke has absolutely blitzed the field at the moment to a 6.3 second gap over over Joseph Roberts, who's got a decent 3 second gap over Ramirez, but that's probably going to need to stay that way, otherwise he'll lose P2. Koya's now under severe attack. Sorry. Interesting statement there by Rifai towards Luke Ringham, so must have been some contact somewhere along the line. There is Betts now makes a move on Koya. Koya actually tries to funnel the car up the inside at the ending corner. He tries it again. Brad goes wide as a result, but it should be Brad's corner, so Brad will take that position. So Brad's now starting to make a surge, and he has got a 6 second time penalty though, as opposed to Koya not having any at all. So Brad's going to need to use these super soft tyres to full effect if he wishes to stay in position 4 for the time being. He should have the overall pace to really mount an attack on the top 2, as Koya down the inside with a massive dive. I don't know if I feel like there's probably a bit of angst between those two, because that to me was a move that was way too far away to be considered a legitimate move, or even a well rehearsed dive bomb. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but it looks like Koya's backed off as a result of it. We'll see again as we head into the hairpin. No, not this time. So yeah, very interesting statement there as Diogo makes it 24 seconds, sorry. So Diogo's just not having a great race today, but he's in the points still, which is not too bad, and he does have a 42 second gap over Alex De Maio, who's just got a 3 second time penalty himself. So I think De Maio's just earned time second number 9, so that should be a counteractive for Diogo, but he's got no chance of being anywhere higher than 8th unless a DNF happens. So I don't expect to see too much more happen other than that. But it comes down to how the rest of the field approach their situation. So the gap between Luke and Joseph has moved out to nearly 9 seconds, so these super soft tyres are absolutely going bazonkers for Luke at the moment. And yes, I did say bazonka, and that was not probably the right word to use, but again, when you're solo commentating, you've got to think on your feet. You've got to think on your feet a little bit to remedy your situation, so I apologise if that comes down to it. So, I'd say too that I was going to be racing an F3 as an invitational today, but I've elected not to just because of the situation that's happened and things, so I don't want to kind of impose too much, as DeMeo actually lets his teammate through the blue flag process. But yeah, I'm just not motivated to race this morning. Got other things, priorities lie in commentating for today, and it's not my place to race anyway. I know I'll probably be there next season, but and I'll only be there because of the restriction, well, the assist situation, not because of pace. So next season you're going to see all the drivers racing in categories based on their driving performances and their assist value. So F1 and F2 will basically be no assist, with remnants of basically F2 will comprise of those. It basically goes to the standpoint of I've actually lost my complete train of thought there. I've just kind of I'll ignore that and just carry on with what's going on. So Ramirez has now made some pretty good ground on Roberts, and because of that, Roberts will now be under threat from losing position 2 on track by the penalty system, but could very well lose the position on track as well. So this is the only couple battles. The rest of the field from pretty much from position 6 onwards is just kind of fanned out and started just running their own race, so there's not too much to follow from that. But the biggest loser in this race today has been Bradley Betts, as opposed to his strategy kind of haltering him. The biggest winner has definitely been Luke with 4 positions, Alex Reese with 4 positions, and that's been pretty much the selling point of this entire race, and that's why Luke has a 10-second gap over the rest of the field. So, just to reiterate what's happened in the world to those who have just viewing or who are out of the lurch, New Zealand yesterday was hit with a national tragedy when a group of Australians decided to go on a mass killing spree on Muslim entities and has killed 49 people in a mass shooting, and injured I think 20 others as well, and we are still waiting to see if those injured pull through or if our death toll is going to count. For the record, from New Zealand myself, and in the remote area of where the attack was, but I live 3 hours away from that particular city, so there's no harm here. There's no harm from any of my family or my partner's family who do reside in Christchurch. So our thoughts are with those people, and our thoughts are also with the family of Charlie Whiting, who sadly passed away on Wednesday from what was known as a familial embolism. Now, for people that don't know what that is, it is basically a blood clot in the lungs, in the main artery to the heart. So basically, Charlie's heart was blocked and he had a heart attack. So very tragic news for the Formula One community, for the Trans Nation Formula One community, for everyone, for more motorsporting entities around the world. It's a big loss. Charlie's been very much a part of the F1 since as long as he's probably been around. He played one of the biggest roles in the whole category, being the F1 director, part of the FIA, big political figure. As Ramirez is going to try and cut me off here by making a move up the inside on Roberts here, as Diogo Cruz has also come in from position 8, which is going to hurt his chances of staying in position 8 if he dropped within 24 seconds of Alex Amaro, who's actually dropped to 54 seconds behind thing as well. So I don't know what's going on there, but we're drawing down to the last 2 laps of the race, and Ramirez is just looking to try and get that, as Robert gets another penalty, which won't do him any good in the pursuit of chasing that, getting chased down by Betts, who, as we say, that beautiful move there by Ramirez, who goes instantly down the inside, then covers from an initial attack. Roberts had no argument for that one, and that's position 2 for Ramirez, and we'll see if he can hold on to that one. He definitely won't have any more pace to chase after Luke, who's out to 13.7 seconds. These two battling probably helped that cause quite a fair bit, and Bradley Betts is also within striking range of these two as well. But I think with him having 2 penalties as opposed to Ramirez having only 1, I don't think Brad will make too much more headway here unless he can get past Roberts and making a statement. So Brad and Luke only kind of pit a lap apart from each other, so the tyre difference shouldn't be too extraordinary given the circumstances of that. But Brad's shown some pretty good resolve at the moment to get back into a podium position, and if he does finish 3rd, he'll pretty much replicate Owen, his cousin's performance in Japan, where he qualified on pole but finished 3rd behind Luke Ringham and Albert Ramirez Garcia, oddly enough. So we could almost see a replicated podium in F4 for the US Grand Prix if Bradley can get past Joseph and make it. And Diogo's been disqualified for excessive multiple warnings, and he got a 27 seconds, my god. 27 seconds worth of penalties it took before Diogo finally got disqualified. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but you know, it's just one of those things that just kind of tells the stale point of management. But yeah, so Betts now looking to try and make a move here on Roberts. Can he establish it? No, he can't, but he should have DRS heading down the back straight. Okay, my mascot's just been kidnapped. Betts around the outside of Roberts. Doesn't get the move done, but it does set him up. He's going to try and go around the outside here. It does set you up to be on the inside here, but it doesn't really work too well. He's going to try and do the over and under, is he, through here? Not quite. He doesn't have the traction either to really pull that one off either, so he'll just bide his time, and he needs it, and that's all he needs to do. He's trying to do it at the never-ending right-hander. Oh, there's contact, and which there usually is, because you do get that effect. He's going to try and do it at the last turn. They both lock up. They both force each other into issuing, and it looks like it's job done. But does that... I think that might have hurt Brad in the fact that he might have lost DRS. Roberts will have him dive here, will he? Yep. And he actually got it done quite convincingly, so Brad probably didn't expect Roberts to actually feed it through. Oh, and they're both off! And they're in the fence! And... oh, that's a touchy one. I think Brad was in the wrong for that one. Brad was definitely in the wrong for that one. It really came down to Brad shouldn't have forced the issue at the fast corners. He should have been more perceptive in the thought that it would have ended up being pretty much Roberts' corner, and that he should have backed off and gone for a move down here where Ramirez is. But we'll look around that in a minute. No doubt we're going to probably see quite a bit of a backlash happen in the F4 chat in the Discord, but either way, it's going to be 2 from 2 for Luke Roberts. He'll round the last corner, and I forgot to go boogity boogity. Let's go racing, so let's just end it with boogity boogity. We've won the race. Yeehaw! So Luke Ringham wins the F4 US Grand Prix, and Albert Ramirez Garcia will take P2 and keep his championship lead for now, but it's going to be getting tighter and tighter as the season progresses. His car sounds a bit sick actually coming through the line, as Bradley Betts will come home in P3, but actually he drops to P4 because Matt Coyer will take the last step on the podium. So yeah, that incident's going to be very touch and go, I reckon. So we'll hopefully try and ignore it, but for now we'll just grab our top 3. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting telling point. Last lap collision between Bradley Betts and Joseph Roberts, and that's going to be all kinds of mayhem, I think. So we'll find that out. So yeah, it's going to be I don't know what to think of about it, but we'll just wait and see. So Albert joins us in commentary for P2. Matt joins us in commentary for P3, so Matt will grab you first. Matt, you've had a pretty comfortable race today. Had a bit of fair amount of pace on the first stint. Didn't look like it kind of paid off on the second up until near the end. Combat between your teammate and sister car of Bradley Betts has resulted in you earning yourself a position on the podium, so you must be happy that the situation's come to you, even though your team kind of at your teammate's expense.
Yeah, obviously Joe was very unlucky because he looked like he could have won the race at one point. But yeah, the penalties helped me out a treat really, because once again I didn't get any penalties. Yeah, I'm happy with the podium.
And it was quite an interesting race too on that perspective, because it looked like everyone was running different strategies, the undercut, the overcut, all those kind of different plays. So for you it must have been a pretty straightforward strategy. So was it just a matter of knowing that you had no penalties, which pretty much underlines on the actual race results? It's quite amazing. But yeah, so you must have known that without penalties you would be more shoo-in for a result, despite maybe not having the pace to contend with the top 3 at the end.
Yeah, that's exactly how I approached it. I was trying not to corner cut, but obviously I was going a little bit slower because of that. And the cars behind were on faster tyres, so I was just making sure I didn't cut any corners, and I, ended up getting on the podium, which is quite lucky, to be honest.
Well, it's a good result either which way, and we'll see you at the Mexican Grand Prix. Albert, another P2 finish. You've ended up behind Luke once again, so it looked like Luke's becoming quite a bit of a title rival for you heading into the last 3 races of the championship. Good battle between you and Joseph heading into the last stages of the race, and it looks like you managed to get it at the end. So P2 for your efforts is still pretty good, despite the odds of just not being able to catch the leader.
Well, before my thoughts and prayers are all with the lost in New Zealand and Charlie. And yeah, I struggled a lot at the first stint, but then at the second stint, I knew I had the pace, and I don't know. I knew I was catching up I don't know the name. I'm sorry. This Speedy, I think, and it was quite hard to overtake him, but I could. And then I don't know what happened between bets that they crashed. Quite happy because I had one penalty, and I was like, oh my god, I should rush until the end. And I was quite I don't know how to say it. I don't have any words, honestly.
Well, we'll leave you to your thoughts on that one, and we'll see you in F3 for the race in about 50 minutes time. So thanks everyone for watching the F4 Grand Prix. I've been Brett Keenan running the solo commentary for today. I'll be joined with Mark Bratby for F3 in half an hour, well, 50 minutes time. Don't forget, tomorrow also we have the Transnation Formula 1 F1 category and the F2 category running at the same times as normal. The Australian Grand Prix, the actual F1, set to start tomorrow as well, so I'm sure that there's a lot of hype going around for that. Qualifying also is today. We'll also be probably holding some coverage of the Transnation Supercars Championship tonight at 4 o'clock New Zealand Standard Time. Races 5 and 6 and 7 of the championship under a new format. But either which way, Brett Keenan signing out from the United States for F4, and we'll see you again very shortly for F3.